East Idaho Newsmakers is brought to you by the Bank of Commerce, your bank of a lifetime.
This is East Idaho Newsmakers with Nate Eaton.
Welcome to East Idaho Newsmakers. Thank you for joining us today. We are pleased to have Tommy Ahlquist here with us today. He is running for governor. Over the next few weeks, we will be interviewing several of the gubernatorial candidates. Tommy, thanks for coming in here.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
Glad to have you here in East Idaho. There's a lot of people watching that they've never heard of you. They don't know who you are. Give us a little introduction as to who you are and why you're running.
Well, thank you. So I grew up on a farm in Utah, moved to Idaho in the 80s, and actually played basketball at Ricks College back when Ricks had great sports programs. It was an amazing time. I went to medical school and then residency at the University of Arizona, and then back to Idaho and practiced medicine here as an emergency room doctor in Idaho, all over southwest Idaho. Saw more than 40,000 patients. Married my high school sweetheart, Shanna. We've been married 29 years, have 4 kids. Consider myself more of a small businessman than I do a doctor, really, because I've always owned my own businesses on the side. Worked all night shifts, own a med tech company that I started in 2001, and then several other more traditional businesses, and then started a commercial real estate company 12 years ago. And we've developed and owned 2.1 million square feet of commercial real estate in Idaho. And ultimately stopped practicing medicine full-time because of that business. Been very, very involved in policy, in the things that drive our economy and our state and education as a business leader. And I've always kind of been a business leader in the community. And a few years ago, had several of my good friends say, you ought to run for governor when Governor Otter's done, because your leadership, your skills, your background, your life experiences would be perfect for that office. And I'm there, I'm excited. I think that our state needs new ideas and a fresh approach to government. I think that we need leadership out of the executive branch on our biggest issues. And I think an outsider that's not a career politician coming in with outside ideas and business ideas of how to take on our biggest problems is very refreshing. And so that's why I'm running. I'm getting into this race with, I think, some really good ideas and new ideas on how we can approach some of our biggest problems, and excited to do so.
You recently completed, was it an 87 city tour?
97 towns.
97 towns. You went all over Idaho. What did you learn?
It was an amazing experience. I knew it would be great. All those years in the emergency room, you sit and listen to people, and you find out that if you really listen and try to hear what they're saying and what they're experiencing, you can be a lot better at what you do as a doctor. And I've used that in business, whether it's growing my business or with employees. If you listen to people and try to understand what's going on, you're much better at what you do. So I wanted to start this thing in a way that I really immersed myself in Idaho, down in the trenches. So we went to 97 towns, 75 days, 296 meetings. Tried to meet with city councils, mayors, school superintendents, and a lot of businesses, families, parents, and ask the question everywhere, what's going well for you, what are you struggling with? And it was an eye-opener for me in the fact that these little towns and cities, the challenges they face, it was inspirational. There's places around Idaho that are really struggling with mandates from the EPA and DEQ. There are businesses with healthcare costs going up, and trying to just run a business now is so difficult. And just listening to them and understanding what more the state could do to create an environment that they can thrive in was very, very good for me to do. I was inspired by some of the stories you hear. There are incredible people doing incredible things around the state, down in the trenches where it really counts, making our communities better, and it was fun to just spend so much time with them, and I learned a lot.
So one of the issues that we hear a lot from our viewers is healthcare. You are a doctor, you're also a business owner. We know that the Obamacare, the Republicans passed through a bill, tried to pass through a bill. It seems like it's a mess.
Yeah, it is a mess. It's a giant mess. If you look at when I started in medicine, that doctor-patient relationship now has layers in between it. The government, large health systems, insurance companies, and there's a lot of money, but the burden is on our companies, our small businesses, and our families. Obamacare was not good for us as a country. You look at what happened to premiums, where they've gone, you look at what's happened to consolidation in medicine, and it's really crippling a lot of businesses and where we're heading. So we need to do something, and I think that we're going to need to be thoughtful. I think we're going to need to have reform of that bill in a way that we can claw back some of the principles, those conservative principles in medicine that will allow us to thrive again. You know, we had a pretty good environment for health care here before Obamacare with the insurance industry and affordability of the premiums. That's all changed, and we need to claw back and get back to some of those principles that allow us to thrive again as businesses and in a state. And I think I can do that. I think I know how to make us successful again. It's going to require a lot of work. It's going to require a lot of efforts. We have great systems. We're a nimble, small state. And if we get some control back from Washington, it's never good when the federal government is controlling what we do in our state. And if we can get some of that control back here with our systems, I'm confident we can make the changes needed to set the example, really, for the United States.
Let's talk about education. The Bonneville Joint School District in Ammon is one of the fastest growing areas in the state. They've asked for a bond for a new high school, which was approved. They're going to ask for a bond for an elementary school. They need a middle school. Schools are overcrowded. I'm sure this isn't just an issue here, but across the state. How do we solve this?
Well, it's nice that you have so much growth, because when you have growth, it's an easier problem to solve than when you have contraction. So one of the nice things you have here is you have an economy that's booming, which brings families in and people are staying here, and then you have growth. Education is a big topic in this state. 63% of our $3.5 billion budget goes towards education. Since 2015, we've put another $500 million into education, and then just last year we bonded and levied another $700 million. We're 49th in per pupil funding as a state, but if you look at the percentage of income that goes towards taxes towards education in our state, we're actually 13th. So we're trying to fund this. We don't have a great tax base here. So I think what we need to do with education is sometimes it's money, but it's also changing the way we do things, doing it more efficiently, allowing more local control, and getting rid of mandates. As I went around the state and talked to superintendents and toured schools and actually got down in the trenches with parents and teachers and principals and said, what do you need most? There is a loss of local control, and allowing our teachers and parents and the people that love our kids the most to just teach our kids. And we need to change that. And we need to get them more money where it's effective instead of what we're doing right now. There's a lot of changes we can make to education, but the last thing I'll tell you is we need an economic environment that allows our tax base to increase. Because right now, when we're putting 63% of every dollar into education, I ask people all the time, where do we stop? Is it 70? Is it 75? We need more tax base. We need to reform our tax code to make it simpler and to make it broader. And we need to bring businesses in and take care of the businesses that are here so that we can increase higher paying jobs, and the whole thing goes together. It's one big ecosystem. So we need to pay attention to business, to get taxes, and that will help our education. And all of those things are very, very possible.
How do you bring businesses here?
The first step we do is we take care of our current businesses, and you ask businesses here, what are the things that are killing you? They say the same two things, sometimes in reverse order. Number one, there's not enough qualified kids here to fill these jobs that they have. We need to make sure that our education system is in line and harmonizes with the jobs that are in our community. The second thing we need to do is improve healthcare. They're saying healthcare premiums are killing them. So those two things will help our current businesses. We let our current businesses thrive, and then we recruit like crazy to get companies that can come in and bring higher paying jobs into the state. As governor, you are the chief promoter of the state, and I'll spend most of my time trying to get those new companies in. But we take care of the businesses that are here first, we help fix education, and then we recruit like crazy to get more higher paying jobs.
There's a lot of people watching here in East Idaho that may say it's refreshing to have someone who's not a career politician. Others who may be concerned that, well, he doesn't know how government works, how is he going to make changes? What would you say to them? What are the benefits you have that maybe some other candidates don't?
I have been a leader my entire life, everything I've ever done, and I think leadership matters. I think ideas matter, and I think vision matters. And anybody that knows me and knows what I've accomplished knows that when I get in and do something, I do it right. I work hard. I'm able to lead people. I'm able to set a vision. It won't be just me. I will work with everyone around me. I will work with the legislature. I will work with the departments to make this the greatest state in the union. I can do that. You don't need to be a career politician to do that. You don't. Career politicians get skewed in a lot of different directions for a lot of different reasons. I know how to run a business. I know how to run a company. I know how to run budgets. I have the skills necessary to be the governor of this state. And I also, as not a career politician, will come into this with fresh ideas that we desperately need.
Of course, our president is not a career politician. What are your thoughts about Donald Trump?
You know, I think a lot of the things that are coming out there are so refreshing. You think about the Supreme Court pick, you look at some of the rollback of regulations and the things he's trying to do. I think the media was very liberal for a very, very, very long time, and they're trying to get used to him. And I think some of the communication that's coming out is difficult, but it's very refreshing to have some of those conservative principles back in our federal government, and hopefully some of that control comes back to the state.
As far as your experience with medicine, is there anything that, and in healthcare, is there anything that really here in Idaho as governor we could do? Anything
Yes,
you
absolutely.
could do?
Absolutely. Just with petitions to the federal government, you can ask for waivers on how we administer Medicaid. We could stretch those Medicaid dollars farther tomorrow if we had the vision to do so. Why not put personal accountability into Medicaid and stretch those dollars farther? We can do some things with insurance, even now in our state, to make those policies more affordable. We can do that now. Last thing in medicine that I'm going to be a huge advocate of from the governor's office is transparency in medicine. We're really good about telling patients to be aware of their dollars and spend them wisely. We're not so good about providing the transparency on quality and cost that those patients need. So I think there's a lot you can do as governor, a whole bunch on healthcare, and it is the issue of our day because it affects so many people.
What's one of the biggest lessons you learned as a doctor?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the humanity of people, the goodness of people. When you're in the ER specifically, I mean, 40,000 patients, and you go into each room and you meet people. There are a lot of really good people with good intentions in life, and having so many interactions where you get to know people at their time of their greatest needs and connect with them is a priceless experience. It shaped who I am, and has allowed me to connect with community and people and friends like I can't imagine if I didn't have that sacred responsibility and trust that comes in that doctor-patient relationship.
You mentioned you have how many children?
4.
4 children. What's the biggest lesson you've learned as a dad?
That's a great question. I love my kids so much, and I think we all do. I have 2 older ones that are our biological kids, and then we adopted 2 little kids. And after the first 2 kids kind of went through, I thought I was the smartest guy in the world. I could have written a book on being the best dad. And now we've got 2 that are 12 and 14. I love with all my heart, and they're different. Kids are different. I think parenting teaches you humility, teaches you patience, teaches you love like no other schooling in your life. As you love each other and you love a family and you raise those kids, it's truly the values and the core of who we are, and how we learn and grow in life is our family.
So many people say politics have become so ugly that it's dirty now, and every election seems to get worse. What do you think? I
agree. That's the part of this that I'm not looking forward to.
Have you seen any thus far?
Oh yeah, I think that I'm getting in this. I want to talk about big ideas and solutions, and inevitably it's going to get into the dirty stuff, and it already has started, and I don't like that. It's part of it. I get it, but hopefully this year, we've got roughly a year till the election in the primary. Hopefully we're sitting down and talking about what are the solutions, who's got the best solutions, and then let the voters decide. But inevitably, the behind-the-scenes game in politics is ugly. I'm not used to that. You don't have to deal with that in other aspects of your life. And frankly, it's probably what keeps a lot of people out of what I'm doing, because there's not a lot of people that are ready to jump into that. I'm ready for it. We got a great team, and we're going to do our best to just talk about ideas and solutions for Idaho, and let the voters decide. People are passionate. The flip side of that is people are very passionate about their ideas and their opinions, and my goodness, in the United States of America, we value opinions and different ideas. But I think your point of having civility and ideas, what I love is whenever it gets a little heated in a conversation with someone that may not agree with me, I say, hey, let's just talk about what the solutions might be. Let me tell you my ideas and why in a real rational way. And you know what? That brings us together. But whenever we start talking about emotions and maybe ideology, it takes us apart. So I think we want to talk about solutions. I think we want to talk about the problems we face as a state, and who can lead us through those problems for our kids and their kids, and how can we build a better Idaho than we have for our kids. And if we do that, it chases away some of the ugliness of politics.
What do you think are the biggest challenges our kids are facing?
Oh my goodness. We live in a world that's different with social media. I think the changes that are happening to my kids because of that, I'm trying to grasp and understand that.
And it'll change tomorrow. It'll
It
change in a
will.
week.
And in the same way, it makes life exciting, right? It makes, you got all this excitement of this new way of doing business, this new way of engaging with people and relationships. But I also think that breaks down some barriers that traditionally would keep people more kind and more good, and social media is different. I think the economy, the modern economy, the way we work, the way we prepare our kids for work is so different. You look at the jobs that exist today that 20, 30, 40 years from now may not exist again. We need to prepare our kids for a modern economy. And one of the analogies I use all the time, I think we've been clawing to try to keep up, and we're probably 10 to 20 years behind in Idaho in our education. Let's just stop that and skip forward to a modern economy and a modern education that gets these kids ready for what's out there. Because it's very different than the way that we've been training them. We got to stay up on the competitive nature of jobs and the states that surround us. And if we don't, as Idaho, we're going to fall back and we're going to lose our kids. We're going to lose our kids to other states and to other places that they're figuring out how to keep them here with good jobs. So I think that's some of the challenges, but it's about the kids. It's about their future. And it's about what we can do to prepare our state so that they can thrive. And that's what drives me.
Let's say you're elected in November of 2018. You take office the following January. What's the first focus? What's the first thing you really want to go after?
There's a whole bunch of things, but education. I think you can have a plan ready for that first year where you come in and make significant changes that allow our teachers, principals, and superintendents to educate our kids in a way that's different, and ideas of how to drive those kids and get them ready for Idaho jobs. I think we can do that right away. Those ideas are sound. I think in healthcare, we're going to see what comes out of Washington, but hopefully there's more state control. And I want to hit the ground running to try to lower premiums for families and businesses around this state. That's huge for me. Third thing, I think we're going to start talking about tax policy and creating an economic environment to allow companies in Idaho to thrive and to go recruit companies with high-paying jobs into the state. And I think you do that day one. You're hitting all these things. So it won't be one thing. It's going to be a lot of things. And anyone that knows me knows that we're going to hit the ground running and we're going to work our tails off to make this the best state in the United States of America.
You were a businessman. You are a businessman. You've developed some pretty successful businesses in Boise. Can you recall a mistake that you made as a businessman that has shaped you and taught you that you'll bring with you that lesson into the governor's office?
Yeah, I think everyone that is in government ought to be a business person, and they ought to be able to fail at a few things. It teaches you a lot. It teaches you about humility. It teaches you about drive. It teaches you about listening to people. There are some business dealings that I've had that have been very, very difficult. And going through a recession, if you own several businesses and you go through the recession I learned a lot. I learned a lot about balance, and I learned a lot about how do you measure the good times with the bad times, and how do you prepare. That's probably the biggest lesson I learned. When I started into development 12 years ago, it was just before the Great Recession. And I dug my way through that. I remember laying in bed at night and just thinking, how on earth am I going to get through this with all my businesses during this time? How do you make payroll? How are you going to pay taxes? How are you going to figure all this out? That is a very good experience to go through. It changes who you are, and it helps you prepare for the next dip, and it helps you prepare for the other challenges that come in your life. So that's what I took away from that, and going through that at a relatively young age was very, very good for me personally.
We hear a lot from our viewers here in East Idaho that sometimes they feel a little disconnected from Boise, from the capital, that a lot of people actually feel closer to Salt Lake City, maybe because geographically it's a little closer rather than Boise. What are your thoughts? Is there kind of a disconnect from this side of the state versus them over there? And if there is, how do you plan to bridge that gap to make us all feel, as one?
There is absolutely a disconnect. And it's not just here. You go to North Idaho, even in the Magic Valley, you hear this disconnect. This is how you do it. If the executive branch of government in this state has a statewide vision that includes everyone for the things that matter most, and you feel included, guess what? We're working all towards the same goal. If you don't feel that same burning statewide vision that you believe in your heart and your mind, guess what? We get regionalized, because then you send your legislators over to fight for Eastern Idaho. North Idaho does the same. There's the Treasure Valley, and they do the same, and you get this disconnection. But I believe, and I truly believe this with all my heart, that if we have a statewide vision on the things that matter most to all Idahoans, and all Idaho gets behind that, I think we're going to feel more connected. And you're not going to have this regionalization that's happened in our state. I look forward to helping mend that. I think I can do that with leadership.
Do you think the election will come down to East Idaho, voters here?
Absolutely. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal. And what I'll tell you about this side of the state too, I've got a lot of deep roots over here. I love being over here, a lot of great friends here from when I was over here before. But the potential between BYU Idaho, the INL, Idaho Falls, Idaho State University, down this corridor, the potential is amazing. Some of the things we can do to get the economic engine of this state really roaring will happen along this corridor. So not only now through the election will this be super important for me because I've got to win over here, but when I govern, this side of the state is where a lot of the economic fuel exists that we can get this thing going for our kids, for their kids, for the education, for the things we need to do in this state.
How long have you been married?
29 years.
29 years. When's your anniversary?
September 1st.
Okay, good. What have you learned from your wife?
Oh my goodness! I married the most loyal, amazing. I met her across a ditch bank when I was 14 years old, and she was the prettiest girl I had ever seen. And then
just a random coincidence, she was
so
there.
our fields backed up to the fields of one of her best friends, and her name's Shanna, and her friend was named Jana. And I was riding my motorcycle along that ditch bank, and ran into him, and I thought that I had seen an angel. Then in high school we started dating, and she's amazing. If you think of my life, I do a lot, and I'm always busy and off doing something. And she is loyal and my best friend, and is always there for me, and has allowed me and us to do some things together in our lives. So I've learned about love, I've learned about patience, I've learned about loyalty, I've learned about friendship with her, and couldn't have done anything in my life without her.
A lot of people outside of Idaho don't realize how beautiful the state is, how many things there are to offer here. What are some of the hidden gems you've discovered over your tour throughout the state?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because there are different segments of Idaho with tourism, which is a $3.5 billion industry here. But we can absolutely capitalize that. If you think of the whitewater rafting, you think of the camping and outdoor hiking, you think of the ATV and mountain biking, you think of the fishing and hunting opportunities we have. It was amazing to go around and meet with groups that are passionate about those things, snowmobiling, side-by-sides. And then a lot of the innovation that's coming out of Idaho. A lot of the hunting, a lot of the ballistic and ammo things that are going on up in North Idaho. Timber Sled is a company up north that are converting motorcycles to snowmobiles with a track on them. There's just a lot of innovation in outdoors here. And why? Because we have the most gorgeous state, I think, in the United States of America. You cannot find a place that has diversity, but also the depth of recreation and going out and exploring and witnessing God's creations as in Idaho. It's amazing. I'll tell you, in 97 towns, it was really fun to see it that quickly as we went around this state. It was really fun.
Just a few weeks ago, voters in Bonneville County approved a community college, turning ITech into the Eastern Idaho Community College. What do you think that's going to do for our area?
Oh, I think it's going to be great. What I will do as governor, we need to now take that approval and use that community college to harmonize really down into our high schools. What are the jobs there, and how can that community college be the connection to those jobs? And if done appropriately, which I think it can be an incredible tool to get those kids ready for the jobs that are right here, and drive the economy and allow you to grow in a way that makes sense and increase this tax base. That the whole thing fuels itself, and I think that's a key component to making all that happen.
What's something we might not know about you?
Oh, I don't know.
McDonald's or Burger King?
Oh, it's McDonald's.
Coke or Pepsi?
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke. Favorite cereal?
Lucky Charms.
Favorite ice cream?
Oh, that's easy. Chocolate peanut butter.
Okay. Do you have a specific brand? Maybe we won't mention a brand in case.
Tillamook.
There you go. Basketball, football. You said you played basketball.
I played basketball. I'm an enormous sports junkie.
Favorite teams?
I would probably weigh less if I didn't go home after the end of a busy day and just stand in front of the TV and watch Sports Center and eat whatever's in the fridge.
Yeah.
But I love professional sports. I love college sports. I love our sports we have in our state, and I'll watch anything. So,
we've got a few minutes left. Why are you the best candidate for the job?
I think that Idaho is ready for leadership, and I think that I am a leader. I think that I've got ideas and a vision for this state that is unique. And the reason why it's unique is because of my background. I am not a politician, but what I am is I'm a physician, a longtime physician in the state, and I understand the people of the state, and I understand healthcare, and I can lead in healthcare. I'm a business guy, and I understand what it takes to run a business. I understand what it takes to hire a lot of people and create jobs, not because I've read about it, not because I've talked about it, because I've done it, and that makes a difference. I think as a community leader, for years in many different organizations, I've led in the community and I've interacted with government. And I think that's given me an experience that's very unique and different. And I think you take that experience and you put it into government. My personal philosophy in life is that I demand excellence out of myself. I demand excellence out of everyone that works around me. We believe data and then we work our tails off and you get excellence. And if you don't have that formula, a lot of times mediocrity comes in. And you can exist in a mediocre relationship for a long time if you don't demand excellence out of each other. That excellence is what I will bring into government, and I think I uniquely have those skills and skill sets and qualities that I can do it. And that's why I would ask for the vote.
All right, Tommy Ahlquist, thanks so much for coming in here. Tommy Ahlquist, gubernatorial candidate. We have invited all of the candidates here on East Idaho Newsmakers, and when we hear back from them, we of course will feature them. We will include links to your website and social media in the section below, and we hope all of you have a great week.
East Idaho Newsmakers is brought to you by the Bank of Commerce, your bank of a lifetime.